4 races remain in the season, but before we get to them, qualifying stands in the way. And when you're at the National Park of Speed, you better be fast as we get ready for the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West qualifying. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Joey, we're not talking hyperbole when we say this is one of the fastest tracks in the country.
It is an amazing facility, 4+ miles of racetrack to go, and let these Porsches just absolutely tear up the asphalt. And you're right, America's National Park of Speed. So we're going to be ready to see some extremely high-end corners, including the carousel and the kink, some of the most iconic corners here in North America. But we got to remember, this is a qualifying session. We are going to be setting the grid for our first race of the weekend.
Absolutely. And like you said, some of those corners, the kink especially, has already claimed victims so far in the practice running up in some of the series we've been running. Now let's take a closer look at this circuit. As we'll hopefully get that pulled up in just a second. We see them actually coming through the kink right now, which, as you can see, the wall is right up against it. That's because of those railroad tracks. It cannot be moved any farther out.
Pretty cool from this overhead shot that you can actually see those railroad tracks there. So that is the, call it, limit in defining how far we can push out this racetrack. And of course, with this USA West series, we're going to have multiple, call it, classes, starting here with these GT3 Cup cars.
Now, it's been pretty cool conditions, not super cold, actually just about ideal, but we're not seeing cars really looking like they're hustling or trying to warm the tires all that much to get going out there. You can't really waste too much time since we are talking lap times over 2 minutes just to set a single circuit.
Agreed with you. I think this is Brandon Hankins taking the green flag, and I believe we do have our track map now. We are just north of Milwaukee by about an hour, and there you reach Road America, just over 4 miles, 14 turns, and a couple of key areas. Turn number 1, incredibly fast right-hander to start off the lap. Turn number 5 down there is a great passing opportunity come race time, but look towards the carousel section and the kink. I told you that is some of the most iconic corners that we've got here in North America. Turn number 12, Canada corner, the lowest point on the circuit. And then a pair of corners left, turn 13 and turn 14. Everybody's nemesis to round out the lap here.
Over 4 miles in length. You've got to be on it. The corner exit's going to be one of the key aspects defining speed around here. You can see we're well into this qualifying session, and they're only on their first flying lap now. Brandon Hankins has been competing in this series all season, almost as some extra seat time for himself, as he's also running in the North America series. But he has been far and above one of the biggest talents that we've seen here in USA West the last couple years.
Looking down, and I do see purple. He had talked about one of the biggest talents that we've got here in the series, and immediately on the first lap already setting that purple sector 1. Everybody else is obviously green, their personal best, since it is lap number 1 out here, but getting these fantastic overhead shots. And this back straightaway after the kink, not very straight, is it?
No, and in fact, you got to try and line yourself up for Canada corner. We'll often see drivers try and do that and take a bit of an interesting line into there to make sure that it's nice and straight as they slam on the binders. Car 14 had a spin. That is Zach Bradford. Looks like he's been able to get going. That was out of turn 6. Now, actually in the practice session directly before this for one of the other series, we had another incident right there. And I believe in the practice session before that, there was also a spin at turn 6. So for some reason, just after the bridge seems to be a real trouble zone early this morning.
And just to kind of talk about turn number 6, and I guess there is a correction, it was car 49 that actually spun. So that's Greg Herback, not Zach Bradford. Sorry about that misinformation there. But turn number 6, just to get a little bit technical about it, it is definitely an up over crest hill. So Going into the brake zone, you're uphill. At apex is right at the crest, and then the exit is completely flat. So it's almost like you go up the plateau and then it flattens out. So if you're already on edge on the uphill, as soon as the car gets light up over that crest, you're really going to have fast hands to try to catch that slide, or it can come around on you.
Now, Joey, you had mentioned that Hankins was going purple at first, and then I suddenly looked down. Pratt was purple in the second two sectors that first time by. Normally we tend to kind of ramp into these things, but look at this, 4 thousandths of a second between the two of them on their first timed lap. This is looking like we'll have a real battle in the Cup Pro-Am.
That's pretty wild. A 2:11.52 from Brandon and a 2:11.53 from Alex Pratt out there. So I'm right there on board with you. Incredibly close, 4 1,000ths of a second. And I see here on this second qualifying attempt, it's still close in Sector 1, but it does go to Alex Pratt.
Ooh, wondering though if Pratt might lose a little track time here. We just saw a message from race control on insufficient RaceLink RF signal. Hopefully that doesn't park him for a little bit as we continue to watch Laura Eli, one of our other GT3 Cup cars out there competing, although she is in the Masters, is trying to play a little bit of catch up on them as she comes down to the braking of Canada corner herself. Needs to make up about 3.2 seconds, but there's still more than half of this qualifying left to go.
Got these great picture-in-picture shots with the onboard from Brandon Hankins there in the timing tower. He's coming up the hill right now. I can say that Alex Pratt has gone purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Brandon Hankins resets the fast lap time at a 2:10.7. But wait for this number 206 car as Laura Eli is going to complete her second qualifying lap at a 2:14.00.
Looking much better from her. Cuts it down by more than a second as we cross the timing line. Alex Pratt is now quickest by 0.149 of a second. They are trading blows for the overall pole in the USA West Series.
And this is pretty wild because Brandon was actually slower sector 1, sector 2, like I had pointed out, but sector number 3 actually went in favor of that 295. So we've got a pair of drivers or a pair of cars that are maybe making their speed similar in one section, but maybe a little bit different in that sector number 3.
And I'm seeing a fastest of anybody first sector from Hankins now. I'm starting to wonder, Joey, if these tires are really kind of getting to the best temperatures, and that's what we're seeing with these dropping lap times.
So I have gotten the very, very fortunate experience to drive on these tires in a race car earlier this weekend, and I can say that they provide immense amounts of grip as soon as you roll off of pit lane. However, I did feel it was lap 2, maybe lap 3, that everything finally settled in, and it's not like the car balance changed at all. It was just making more speed and more grip.
This is Pratt on our screen currently coming around the carousel. This is in the midst of Sector 2, which Brandon Hankins didn't even go personal best in Sector 2 that time by. I wonder if there's a bit of a mistake from him. Let's see what this sector looks like as it's just after the kink that you cross the timing line for Alex Pratt. He also did not set a personal best.
Very, very interesting. And we're coming up to halfway through here. Got our eyes on this 206 of Alex Pratt. Like Joe was saying, this is Canada corner here, the lowest section of the racetrack, and then you really have to just dig uphill all the way throughout. Turn 13, this left-hander, incredibly fast. You have to have high amounts of commitment through there because the rolling speed, you're really just hanging on to the right side of the car there as it's loaded up laterally. And then turn number 14, always so tricky where it's flat. And then it's the run up the hill here. Laura Eli once again going to reset her fastest lap. She's down into the 213s now, a 213.58.
Something we have to keep in mind that's Alex Pratt behind her. He's running quicker lap times. Eventually, if things stay as they are, unless he backs off, he's going to have to try and overtake her at some point. Now, there's plenty of long straights where that could potentially happen, but it's always easy to trip over one another in qualifying. You really want to have track to yourself out here.
I know we've been mainly focusing on these GT3 Cup cars in both the Pro-Am and the Masters. I just want to give a quick update to how our Cayman field is doing right now. Zach Bradford currently leads the Pro-Am class and just Caymans overall with a 216.61, and then Greg Herback only 6/100ths of a second back. Now, he is in a separate class. He's in the Masters, but a 2:16.67. Those cars are incredibly close on pace as we get Justin Lewis on the screen.
And as soon as you said that, Zach Bradford just went much quicker. It is now a 2:15.9 for our overall fastest Cayman. Like you said, different class, but even still, I know they're probably competing for that out there and paying attention to those times. Great recovery, though, from Greg Herback. Remember, he had a spin out of turn 6 at the start of the session, came back out, and like you said, was very, very close for a moment to Zach Bradford.
This is that corner, turn number 6 that you were just talking about, and you can see it's steep on the uphill, and then it just flattens out right there at apex and continues to be flat throughout the exit. Leads you into this incredibly fast turn number 7, and I gotta say, Road America has done such a fantastic job adding lots of runoff to specific areas around the racetrack. You see all that kind of concrete out to the outside of the actual racetrack. They have smoothed out a lot of that as we see turn number 6 be a problem area again for Herback.
Yeah, I was going to say, same car as well, unfortunately. Thankfully able to keep going. You talked about those paved runoffs. One thing that I believe is new for this year is they also have what I've heard referred to as grasscrete, where it's kind of the pavement, but the grass can grow through it. And that's right at the end of the curbs in most places.
And that's exactly the part that I'm talking about. Here in turn number 12, not so much, but if we stick around with the 75 here, especially through turn number 14, there's a huge chunk on the outside of turn number 14. So we're riding on board with Justin. It looks like he's going to be completing this lap here, but look to the outside, driver's left here. You can drive all the way over that. That's exactly what you were just talking about. And let me tell you, if you're not aiming for that concrete on the exits, you're losing rolling speed through the middle.
75 just crossed the line. Personal best for him, 2:17.5. He stays second in the Masters class. We've also had Henry Marshall recently putting laps in. He's running in the GT3 Cup Masters. Meanwhile, Alex Pratt and Laura Eli have both brought it down to pit lane. We're down to 7 minutes left, so they could get out there, but it's only going to be for a couple laps if they return.
As you can see from Justin's last lap, he was setting personal best sectors in Sector 2 and Sector number 3. Sector number 1 here on this new lap should be coming to complete here right about turn number 5 or so, 39.4, so did not improve on that lap. He's going to have to look for the rest of this lap to try to make a few improvements. It's just so tough in qualifying that if you get behind on those first few corners, it can be really tough to make it up.
What I find interesting is we still have Brandon Hankins out there. Remember, he's doing double duty, like I mentioned. I would think maybe he'd want to preserve things a little bit on the car, having to get it turned around for the other series so quickly as we watch the braking down into turn 5 as the car dips its nose. The number 4 of Molenkampf still sitting third in the Masters. Quickest time of 2:18.5 currently.
And there's another shot of turn number 6, and you could see the car really wagging the tail coming out of there. The drivers are so anxious to get onto throttle as soon as possible. You combine that with the car just completely loaded up, and I think that we're going to see turn 6 continue to be maybe a problem child here this weekend because the rest of the racetrack, high grip, right? There's lots of loaded corners that you can just really lean on the car and lean on the racetrack. However, turn 6 is not like that.
So many problems already. Not a good sign. Hopefully everybody is on the radio letting them know that maybe you don't want to push it too hard through there. There's more to be lost than to be gained. As Molenkampf comes down through the kink and towards Canada corner, showing a personal best. Sector 2 didn't really do anything amazing in Sector 1. Let's see what the final one is, if that gets him any closer to Lewis.
And this turn number 13, I mentioned so high speed commitment there. You really, and that was very wide there from the number 4 in terms of apex. So he's going to reel it back in. Right now sitting at a 2:18.56, and I see about a second to make up to go catch that 75 in front of him.
Who has now brought it into pit lane. Let's see what this lap holds for the number 4 car. 2:18.0. He is now within half a second with a couple laps left on the clock if he really wants to take them. While most of the drivers have pitted in, I already mentioned Pratt and Eli. Looks like Bradford is down pit lane. Herbeck and Lewis are now done with their qualifying.
Only 3 cars active, like you were saying, and my goodness, if you ask me, an open track at Road America, that's pretty much every driver's dream.
Cross the line once again for the 278 of Henry Marshall. Did not improve on that last lap time despite setting personal best in sector 2 and sector 3. So sector 1, a little bit of a bugbear for him, which is interesting since that is effectively only 2 corners in that first sector.
But 2 important corners, right?
True.
Because I guess turn number 1, there's not a huge straightaway before turn number 3. However, it's so high speed on the commitment on the entry that you can lose a lot of time. And then turn number 3 here at Road America leads you on to that long middle straightaway, the Moraine sweep. So if you don't get the exit out of turn number 3, I can see substantial time loss.
Here he is now. This is Henry Marshall that we're seeing climbing the hill towards 6. Let's see if he can handle this left-hander blind entry, as you mentioned. And as he comes out of the apex, that looks nice and tidy to me. Didn't use up the extra runoff that you had mentioned earlier. Let's see what he does here through 7. Yeah, that looks clean.
And I think talking about that extra runoff, there's a few corners that it is available, but you don't necessarily want to use it in terms of the lap time. It's more of the safety net. However, in some corners, especially exiting the carousel here, watch drivers left as we get to the end of this corner. You need to be committed, high speed, running all the way over that because it just gives you another 6 feet of track.
Marshall still trying to catch up to Laura Eli in that Masters class for the pole. Last 2 sectors were both personal bests for that number 278. And as he gets ready for the braking down into Canada corner, looking good so far, just a bit off the apex maybe there.
Most importantly, though, it is still personal best sector 1, still personal best sector number 2. So as long as Henry can keep it together through these final couple corners, really right now only turn number 14, and this one is so important as well. Just like turn number 3, it leads you out onto this long straightaway, but look at the uphill climb right here. You really want to have the momentum already built and going before you reach that hill.
It is massively steep, and it is down to a 2:15.8. So he does improve his time. Unfortunately, still not close enough to overtake Laura Eli for the Masters pole in the Cup class. Obviously, he's still out there. Let's see if he continues to push. It does look like he's staying in it. This is going to be his last flying lap, though.
Can report that this is the only car on the racetrack right now, so the number 4 has brought it into pit lane. Henry Marshall has 4 miles of Road America all to himself out there. We're going to see what sector number 1 is going to provide. Not a personal best for the 278 this time.
Interesting. Okay, so we'll watch for sector 2 as he just tracks it out onto the curbing there out of turn 5, comes up towards turn 6. Very far downhill through this section, basically all the way here until you get to turn 8. Effectively, I think you could say downhill until you get to the kink.
Pretty much. I think that this section right here, going down into turn number 8, steep on the downhill, like you were saying, flattens out just a touch in between 8 and the entry to the carousel. But as soon as you reach that bridge, it's already going downhill and significantly downhill throughout this corner. A little bit of banking built into it, but trust me, you're just trying to balance the car and trying to time as soon as you can get on the throttle.
Through the kink, nicely on it. As he crosses it, does not set a personal best. I'm not sure if this one is worth finishing out with 5 seconds left on the clock. He's going to be getting the checkered flag regardless. Let's see if he stays with it.
It appears to me, Joe, that he is already off pace here in Canada corner. It seems like he has abandoned this lap as the checkered flag has come out.
I'm not too surprised on that one. That means that the grid is effectively set for race 1 in the USA West Series. This is definitely not hustling the car as he comes up to the final corner. So we'll see him park it in pit lane as he comes back to his crew. And Alex Pratt going to be our top runner in the GT3 Cup Pro-Am. Brandon Hankins lines up behind him. Then third overall, but in the pole for the Masters, it's Laura Eli. Henry Marshall will start from second in that Masters class. Top runner in the Caymans is Zach Bradford. Then behind him, pole sitter for the Cayman Masters is Greg Herbeck. He'll be followed by Justin Lewis. And then last but not least, Molenkoff in the number 4 Cayman GT4 Club Sport starts in P3. That is it for our qualifying in the USA West Series. Stick around because we have Cayman qualifying for the North America Series coming up next.